Have you ever noticed how the hardest part of change isn't starting? It's the moment a few days pass and nothing looks different. You went for the walk, you tried the meditation, you said you'd finally stick with it. And then your mind whispers, quietly, almost kindly, "See, this is why you never finish anything. Maybe you're just not consistent. Maybe it's too late to start over, again." If that voice feels familiar, I want you to stay with me for a few minutes, because there's a simple story about a boy and a stone that explains why you keep quitting, and it has nothing to do with being weak, lazy, or broken. It has everything to do with where you place your effort and why one small blow each day can change your entire life. Let me tell you the story. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to feel motivated? Right at the beginning, you start something new. Maybe it's a health routine, a meditation habit, learning a language, getting your finances in order, even just trying to sleep better. For a few days, you feel hopeful, like this is it. This time I'm going to change. And then something small gets hard. You miss a day. You don't see results. Your mind gets busy. Your body feels tired. Life interrupts. And before you know it, that quiet voice shows up. Maybe I'm just not the type of person who sticks with things. Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm too late to start. That voice can feel so personal, like it's describing who you are. But what if it's not who you are? What if it's simply the pattern you've been living inside? Today, I want to share a story. Simple, almost like a folktale, about a boy who lived in that same pattern and how one small lesson changed the direction of his life. His name was Taran. Taran was bright, curious, creative, quick to get excited. He had the kind of mind that could imagine a better life in an instant. And that was exactly his problem, because Taran didn't just want to learn, he wanted to master. He wanted to be successful immediately. One week, he decided he would become great at martial arts. The next week, he wanted to become a storyteller. After that, he wanted to grow vegetables. His energy was real. His intentions were real, but the moment something felt difficult, the moment the progress slowed down, he would stop, and he'd tell himself, almost casually, "It's probably not my thing." Then he'd move on to something else, and over time, something painful happened. He never became good at anything, not because he wasn't capable, not because he wasn't smart, but because he kept switching stones. He kept starting over. And if you've lived a little, you know how discouraging that feels. Because after a while, it's not just the habit you quit, it's your trust in yourself. One afternoon, his grandmother saw him give up yet another task, and she didn't scold him, she didn't lecture him. She simply said, "Come with me, I want to show you something." They walked outside the village to an old stone quarry. It was quiet there, dusty, still, and she pointed to a large, solid rock resting on the ground. Then she placed the small hammer in his hand and said, "Break this stone." Taran laughed. With this tiny hammer? That's impossible. But his grandmother just smiled, the way older people sometimes do, when they've seen this kind of struggle before. She said, "Try." So Taran raised the hammer and struck the stone, again and again, 10 times, 20 times. Nothing happened. The stone didn't move. It didn't crack. It didn't even look different. His hands started to hurt. Sweat rolled down his face. And finally, in frustration, he threw the hammer down and shouted, "This is useless. Nothing is happening." And here's the part I love. His grandmother didn't argue with him. She picked up the hammer, and in a low, calm voice she said, "This stone is your mind, Taran." Then she said something that landed like a bell. "You are like someone who hits many stones one time each because you keep changing your goals. No stone breaks that way." Then she put the hammer back in his hand and said, "100 scattered strokes don't help. 100 strokes in the same place makes wonders." And then she gave him a very different instruction. Come back every day, strike the same point. Not hard, not fast, just consistent. Same point every day. So Taran came back the next day. He tapped the stone. Nothing happened. He came back the day after that. Nothing happened. Days passed. The stone stayed the same. And this is the hardest part, isn't it? When you're doing something right, but it doesn't look like it's doing anything. That is where most people quit. Not because they're lazy, but because it feels humiliating to keep going when you can't prove it's working. Still, Taran returned. He trusted the lesson. And one morning, he lifted the hammer and gave a small tap. Crack. The stone split in half. And Taran froze. He couldn't believe it. But his grandmother just smiled because she wasn't surprised by the crack. She knew it wasn't the last tap that did it. It was every tap. Every day he returned when nothing seemed to change. That was the real work. From that day on, Taran changed. He didn't become perfect. He didn't become some superhuman. He simply chose one craft, pottery, and he practiced each day, small effort, same direction. Months turned into years, and the boy who used to quit everything became known for creating strong, beautiful ceramics. People asked him, "How did you become so good?" And he would answer with a simple phrase, "One small blow every day." Now, let's bring this into our lives, because if you're listening to this in modern America, chances are you've lived through your own version of that stone quarry. Maybe you've joined a gym, then stopped, then joined again. Maybe you started meditation, then felt your mind was too busy and gave up. Maybe you tried to eat differently, manage stress, sleep better, and when it didn't change fast, you thought, what's the point? And if you're in midlife or later, there's an extra layer. It can feel like time is precious, like you can't waste it. So you want results fast, and when they don't come fast, it can feel like you're losing something. But here's a gentle Buddhist lens to hold this with. In Buddhism, suffering isn't just pain. It's also that restless pressure inside, the feeling that things should be different right now. And one of the quiet causes of that pressure is clinging to outcomes, clinging to proof, clinging to progress that you can measure. And when we cling to results, we often abandon the only thing that actually creates results, the simple act of returning. Returning without drama, returning without needing a guarantee. In a way, the grandmother wasn't teaching Taran about stones, she was teaching him about the mind. Because the mind is like a stone in this sense. It changes slowly, not by big emotional breakthroughs every once in a while, but by small, steady contact, again and again, same place, every day. And here's something worth noticing. The grandmother didn't say, hit harder. She didn't say, be faster. She didn't say, force it. She said, consistent. That's a very compassionate instruction, because some days all we have is a small tap, and some seasons of life, a small tap is exactly the right size. So if you're listening and you feel discouraged, I want to offer a few gentle questions, not as commands, just as something to sit with. What is one stone you keep switching away from? Not because you don't care, but because you hate the feeling of slow progress. And what is the smallest daily tap you could return to? Maybe it's 1 minute of breathing before you check your phone. Maybe it's a short walk to the mailbox and back. Maybe it's writing 2 honest sentences in a notebook. Maybe it's calling one person instead of holding everything alone. Not a grand reinvention, just a return. Same place, every day. And if your mind says, that's too small, you can smile a little, because the story already answered that. One small blow every day. That's how stones break. That's how lives change. And the ending is not that everything becomes easy. The ending is quieter than that. The ending is that you stop starting over so often. You stop treating slow progress like failure. You begin to trust something deeper than motivation. You begin to trust your own returning. So tonight, or tomorrow morning, if you can, just pick up the hammer again. Not to fight the stone, just to touch the same place. And let time do what time does. Thank you for spending these minutes with me. If this landed somewhere in your life, you can take one small step with it today. And that's enough.